Um, so let's go ahead and start then. So, Alexander, I am so excited to have you on the Modern Startup Marketing Podcast. I want to get into the story of how we met because I think that's kind of fun. But just to intro you, Alexander is the co-founder and CTO of INK. INK is based out of Houston, Texas, and is a patented AI software that's meant for content creators and writers. So basically, you built a product that's able to reverse engineer what Google is looking for in good content, essentially. So you're helping content creators, you're helping writers. And so writing with INK increases your chances of ranking on the first page in Google by 400%. I couldn't believe it when you told me this. That's huge. Plus, on top of that, it's absolutely free. I used it, so I can tell you guys that it is free. I was able to write a playbook using the tool. And I think like the coolest thing for me when I was using it was it gave me the confidence, right? It really gave me confidence as I was writing. I immediately got real-time feedback on what I should change, what I should work on, where I could get my ideas, like clicking over to other articles that had some content that I could use for that playbook. And so I really did love the tool. It gave me that confidence to use it. And the way that we met on Lunch Club. And Lunch Club is, I believe it's also an AI tool, right? It's connecting people from around the world, and you basically put in your interests and who you're looking to talk to, and then it connects you to folks that match to that. And you could meet with people every single week, a few times a week, and that's how we met. So welcome, Alexander. Great having you on here.
Thank you, Anna. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so that was a really cool Lunch Club meeting to meet with you. And I remember it was surprising because we started talking, getting to know each other, and then you pitched your product to me. You said, Anna, you're a marketer. I want to pitch you my product. And you went through the deck. You went through your pitch deck. You went through your slides. And I'm like, sold. I love it. I want to use it. Even though I'm not an investor, I wanted to try the product out, and I did. So I'm so excited to have you here. The first thing I want to ask you is, what does marketing mean to you? So we'll start high level.
Yeah, marketing means a lot of things to me, and it means a lot of things to many people. But essentially, I would say that marketing is the thing you do to rise above the noise. And that thing you do can be like many, many, many things. And marketing can be hard, but it can also be surprisingly easy to start, right? So if you look at the market, everybody is competing for your attention. So you go back to kindergarten or first grade, and there's always that kid that is trying to get everybody's attention. That is a future marketer, right? And so marketing is the art of grabbing that attention more efficiently than all the people around you, right? And so that's often your competitors, but sometimes it's also coming from unexpected places, right? Noise, maybe outside somebody is mowing the lawn or something and grabbing the attention away.
I apologize for that. You might hear they're finishing up, I swear. With this podcast, it's I love the raw material. I'm gonna, just mention that there might be a little bit of noise, but it will go away.
So I see marketing as a competitive sport. You're seeing it as the art of war, and it is as creative as any other form of art. So you go to a gallery and you see these beautiful paintings and creative artwork, and you admire people's creativity and so forth. I can really look at somebody's marketing campaign and appreciate it like I'm walking through an art gallery. Like, oh my gosh, Anna, I love what you've done with your podcast. This is so clever. And I can admire the art in that.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I I'm an artist. I mean, I have 2 kids now, so I practice art a lot less than I used to. But that's what drew me to marketing in the first place. It's the people aspect, right? Understanding the people, the buyer behavior, the psychology of that, as well as the art aspect. And I think that's like when you see awesome marketing, that ties into like how you look at design or art. It's the same feeling. It's just like you're in awe of like, oh, they put those pieces together in such a unique way, in such an impactful way, and you admire it just like a work of art. I agree with that. Great. So I talked a little bit about ink, very little, but maybe because you're the expert on your own company, can you give a couple of sentences type of pitch, something that a 6-year-old can understand about your company, who you're for, what problem you solve, stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, let's put it like in like the audience's shoe. Like how would you feel if you encounter a certain situation? Like make ink. What is ink in like from your perspective? Like so, imagine you're just you get an assignment or you decide to write something for your blog. Why do you do it? You want to get eyeballs, right? You want people to find it. So there you are. You're open WordPress or Word or whatever, and you start writing. Now, when do you know your content's good enough? Like when you were talking, you said like ink's giving me confidence. Like, but why? Why do you feel more confident? Well,
Because it's got like the percentage. It literally tells you
yeah,
you're getting a grade.
right. So it is doing all of that research work for you, looking at all these competing articles, finding patterns in them. It's using AI with natural language programming to extract the meaning of competing text, like what ideas are they conveying. Then it's building models and finding out which ideas are dominating in the top 10 versus not. Then it's looking at your article and seeing how well you've covered those ideas. It's looking at your style of writing. It's looking at what complexity your audience can handle. And as a writer, you can forget about it all. You just write. And ink is just there as your, I don't know, like what if Clippy for Word was like an SEO expert? That's how it would be like, So and so why you get that, we used to do that research by hand. And it took us a long time. And we're like, this is nobody wants to pay us our hourly rate for all that research. Like people don't want to pay that, but that's what it takes. So you're saving a ton of time. You feel confident, and the output of your product, like your work, you have a much better chance of ranking in Google, and that matters. So from a usability, from a use case perspective, like that's what we're trying to solve. And we mentioned art before, but user experience is super important. Like the Nest thermostat, like we love that thing. Like the original iPod when it came out, and you like scroll through your music. We love that design. It's how it became popular, right? So we think like a writer fundamentally is an artist too. They have need for creative expression, right? And you don't want to force them into a mold. You want to give them a freedom. You want them to give them the joy of writing. At the same time, you want to give them the tools that like are just in time, just when they need it, right there, and be accurate and helpful when they do want it. So that's our approach to ink and what we try to do. And then we understood like who is it for? Well, it's for sure for writers. But we also understood like writers are not necessarily appreciated with their pay enough, right? So let's make it free for writers. And then let's also, like, if writers then start getting results with this, let's convince businesses like, hey, you know what? Our SEO leads are soaring. We're getting actual growth. We're getting actual value out of here. Then let's make the case to businesses that, their writers ought to be using the most advanced pro features of ink down the line, so that businesses can be the one that then support their writers with the best possible tools because they want the ROI. And so that's our philosophy around ink. If you open it up, it's desktop software. you're gonna like really enjoy the writing experience. There's so much thoughtfulness in there. But then as a business, you will be like, oh my goodness, what is happening to my content department? You know, maybe you guys should get a raise or something because you're doing such a good job, right? Yeah.
It almost helps put the writers on the pedestal, right? Sometimes it's hard to put to match data together with like the art folks or the design folks or the writers, and to see like what's their performance like. It's just difficult, right? It's not like other sorts of departments that are more analytical and you can attach like performance to that. So this is a way to actually do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can act on that as a company. You can act on the knowledge of like who are your best writers and how is their performance. So that is super fascinating. So you talked a little bit about like why you decided to build this. How many people do you guys have at the company? Like, what's the team structure like right now? And I know you're trying to raise funding, right? I think that's currently where you're at.
Yeah, that's going to come early next year. But important to know, like to this point, we have bootstrapped it all. And that means we started out actually building an SEO agency, and we grew that to over 20 full-time people. It's a company that is serving some of the largest Fortune 100 companies. And we're very proud of the results we've gotten. One of our clients has grown their SEO traffic by 24 million visitors last year.
Wow.
Right?
That's huge.
Right. So throughout the Corona crisis and so forth, I think a lot of our clients have realized how valuable SEO is, because it's not like keep dumping money in to get the same results when cash is tight. But SEO is the gift that keeps giving. You're happy that you own your home, not just rent it, right? Mm-hmm. At least in states with no property tax. Because my property tax bill is coming up, and it always hurts a little bit because you don't ever feel quite you fully own your house.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's another topic for another day. Anyway, we started the agency, and it was funny because my partner Michael, we talked about it, starting something together. And I remember having the conversation like, what kind of company do we want to start? And I said, anything but a marketing agency. We ended up building one. The way it happened was we just put a website online. I happened to know a thing or two about SEO. That site grew to 100,000 visitors a month in like a year time. And the traction on that was so interesting that when we went to go pitch ideas, or like I could do software development, whatever, right? For people, I could pretty much solve any problem that has to do with tech for people. But they were like, stop talking. What did you say you were doing on your blog? I want that. And very soon after, we got a pilot project with a Fortune 100 company, and we knocked it out of the park. And then we got the whole SEO contract, and we were like two guys in a duck. And we're like, how are we going to service this Fortune 100 company? So we started building a company around that, and I'm very proud of that company. It's EduLabs. Very, very proud of the team. The people there are phenomenal. You can reach out to them on LinkedIn and ask them. I think people just adore working with each other. It's such a wonderful team, wonderful people, and we've been able to really grow that. Then as we were working with our clients, we started noticing like this content creation thing, it's a disaster. Like nobody knows, like they're writing and the lawyers are checking it, and the brand people are checking it, and they're spell checking it, and then they're publishing it, and it's not performing. This is a disaster. And then we started trying to figure out like, okay, let's put these content briefs together. And, we made the most elaborate manual content briefs and say, you got to do this and you got to do this. And then we found like the writers hated them. They're like, you're curbing our creativity and it's not what I wanted, and so forth. So we tried to solve we started to see the picture, like we got to do something about that. And then that's how we started Ink. And today we have more than 30 full-time people on the Ink software, more than half of which are software developers.
Okay.
And so we are fully bootstrapped, self-funded, and no debt, no outside money, gotten to this point. And to think that we have more than 15 software developers full-time on this one product, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
I believe like Among Us had like 1 or 2 developers. So and it's gone viral. So you may wonder, like, why do you need so many developers? It's just an editor, right? Well, we've got AI researchers. We're doing really cool stuff. Like, I hope I can be back next year and tell you all about what we're doing.
Absolutely. You're on my list for coming back.
Thank you. Because what we're doing, like with text and with AI around content optimization, it's all going to be like first ever in history, like one after the other. And like content performance is more than just getting the search engines to rank you. Well, what if they find your content, but they're not engaging with it, right? So how do you optimize your headlines? How do you optimize for engagement? What style do you write? How do you optimize for conversion? Well, there are a lot of like scientific studies with very interesting psychology behind these things that have never been translated into AI consumer applications that you can benefit from. So our team is in total, between our agency and our software, inkforall.com, we have over 50 people. And I want to give a shout out to somebody. I think your audience will really appreciate this reference. We have worked with Megan Allerid from heightenedleaders.com on implementing a system called Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. And so we have organized our entire company around this operating system. And there's a lot to say about that. But essentially, the story of the Tower of Babel, where all the languages were confused and people like had to split up. In a company, we all speak different languages. Meetings are happening in disorganized ways sometimes, and each team has their own way of communicating. You gotta bring your entire company on the same way of meeting, same way of communicating, and have a very efficient way to set your goals and keep track of your how you're on track. We have implemented that system. I have been part of seeing that system implemented on at least 5 different businesses, and I can guarantee you, like it's one of the things I was fighting against when my partners wanted to start. I'm like, I don't need this, but I have been proven wrong. That stuff is spectacular, and it's even so good that some people are like, I got to run my household on EOS, so we're on the same page.
Maybe I need that in my household. You're not the first one to mention EOS. I've talked to other agencies that are also implementing EOS within their organization and super believe in it. So that's awesome that you shared that. So you told me about your team, that, number of people that you have for Ink. I think like 30 people, 15 of which is focused on the software development. What about the other 15? How are those folks divided in teams?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got so it's all EOS, right? So we've got a leadership team. So in EOS, I'm the visionary. Then Michael, the CEO, is the integrator, and then we have a leadership team with a number of people that are very experienced in the sense that they have started, they have launched and exited from startups before, and they know what they're doing in like different areas of specialty. And so we have people there representing product. We have people there representing like the whole branding, marketing, communication, and so forth, right? And then of course the development side as well. Now, then we have a team we have a development team, and it's organized as a team that deals with all the front end of the editor, the software itself. We've got a very large backend team. We're building quite a bit of proprietary trade secret tools for measuring very specifically what marketing things we do are working, what is not working, how are people virally sharing. For example, we built our own MailChimp inside of our
Oh, interesting. So this is all in-house that you're building this.
And it's the idea is not to commercialize it, but the problem is segmenting of users. So a group of users is, I don't know, a Windows user responds to a certain type of messaging or has certain survey preferences, and I don't know, used ink very active this week. I don't know. That's a segment that you want to target with a certain email, rather than just sending blanket emails to everybody. We really believe in personalization and making sure that the emails are like relevant for the audience. That we've got a long way to go on that, but at least the segmenting. Usually the database and the email program are like two different softwares, and it's really hard to get them to talk to each other. And if you really look at those softwares, they have so many bells and whistles you'll never need. What's much more important is that you send the right message to the right person. And so that's like one example of how we're trying to bring that in-house. So we've got the front-end team, the back-end team. We've got our API. It's extremely powerful. Like what we call it like fingerprinting, a semantic AI, which we built from the ground up to in just like 7 milliseconds. It can process an entire document and know exactly what ideas are conveyed in there and build a data model of the idea in the text. That's just milliseconds. So our API is it has to be search engine grade performance. And we built the AI from the ground up. We have a very original solution to this. And our whole backend API is built like for performance, for scale, for security. And it's really like holding all like the secret sauce like that powers the application.
Yeah.
Then we have a design team that supports all of the design needs of the company, the front end user element, UI elements, the backend interfaces elements, the website, but also our social media graphics and so forth. Like we've got three full-time designers on there. Then we have the marketing department. Inside the marketing department, we've got social media people. We've got an amazing press agent that we work with, Sarah Evans from Sevens Consulting. She is phenomenal. We've got our content team. We've got in-house content people. We've got.
Are they using your tool for building content?
Yes, and so this is a good question, because the reason why I didn't want to start an agency, like what I told you earlier, and say anything but, is because I felt like marketing agencies are a lot like people that invest other people's money for a living. Like if you are so good at investing, then why do you have to do it for anyone else? Wouldn't you be rich? And I felt that with SEO and marketing too. If you really know how to market, why don't you market yourself and get wealthy that way? Because, why do it for other people? Now, some good reasons can be you get a Fortune 100 company who wants to give you their whole marketing contract, and you can build a great team and then build later on with you can then you can then end up with a product like ink down the road. So it's a means to an end. So there are like legitimate reasons why to do this. But to your question, earlier this year, we were not yet taking care of our blog. And so I drew up the plan. I said, we're going to do this. We wrote about 64 articles. We hired a company called Crowd Content. You want to talk to Lisa or Eric or Megan over there, they're phenomenal people, and said, how about you write the content for us and use our software? So guess
And
what
that's
happened?
like the ultimate, right? It's like, let's test that this thing works. You're putting on other people to start writing and using your product, and you better get good stuff, right? Because you just built this product and you're selling it to other folks saying that it's going to do that.
Absolutely. And guess what happened? Maybe you saw it on my LinkedIn or something, but in 5 months' time, from a site, that a blog that was like brand new, had maybe like a few testimonials on there, but not like real content. So with 64 articles written by crowdcontent.com using inkforall.com software, published to the blog, and very minimal link building. I can tell you, we spent less than $1,000 on link building. So just so you know, like it's really minimal. In like since May. So since late May, June, we started publishing. So about 5 months since then. What do you think we got in terms of SEO growth in 5 months?
Well, was it the 400% that is on your profile?
Those are the odds of odds that you can increase your chances of ranking in Google. So if you had 400% growth from, let's say, 100 users, is not that impressive, right?
That's right.
Right. So that would be like, but how much, like, let's say in May, we had like 500-600 visitors a month to our site. And most of them were direct visitors to, who typed in ink for all or something, right? So that's when we started publishing. From late May till, let's say, today, how much traffic would you guess that we got on our blog from those 64 articles written in ink?
Well, you did say 100,000. You're getting
Yeah.
100,000, right?
Yes, over 100,000. So I'm a competitive creature. So I think Neil Patel once bragged he had like, it took him only 12 months or something. So like, hey buddy, hey buddy.
Ooh, I might have to tag him in here when I do some podcast clips.
No,
to see what he has to
he's
say.
great. He's great. He's doing a great service to the industry, and always educating and giving a lot of information out. But
that's awesome.
You can't be a marketer and not be a little bit competitive, right?
Absolutely.
So it's all good fun. It's a sport. So I don't know if 5 months, and that's really it. So the formula is out there. If you want to see the case study, it's on our blog. You can just see what we did and replicate it for yourself.
Awesome. This is great. So we've talked a lot about your company. We've talked a lot about how the company got started. We talked about your team, and just a lot of different like nuances there, how you're actually building in-house some of the tools, because you're not finding that the tools that are out there from vendors are enough for the targeting and personalizing aspect. So marketing, let's focus on marketing and like what's your team doing? What are you guys doing? What's working really well for you right now? What channels? Let's talk about that.
So we have, in our first year, we have over 20,000 writers who started using ink. So from like a cold launch, and we've been very frugal and very efficient with our cash. So almost everything is done in-house. So I'm just going to give you like the historical thing of what we've done one after the other, and like that's contributed to that. So our first 2,000 users, we had, thanks to Product Hunt. We did a big deal on Product Hunt. We planned our product at launch for over 2 months. So we really, really, really prepared our launch. You know, picked the perfect date, picked the perfect hunter, picked the perfect messaging, worked on our videos, worked on our landing page, worked on our social media amplification. The day off we had, I think we had like 20 people helping us on social media, broadcasting all day long. It felt like an Olympic swimming race. Like we had to win the day, we had to amplify, and all day we were up for more than 24 hours. So it was intense, but it was worth it. It was very worth it. So Product Hunt can be amazing. There's some really great checklists online that you should definitely check out. Believe me, they all work. Like one of the things we did for a successful launch was months before the launch, like our team would all sign up for Product Hunt, start liking other people's products, and start following people and getting people to follow you back. Because what happens when you then launch something, everybody that follows you gets an email, and those are like people that then check out your product and so forth. So follow those checklists and don't just wake up one day and say, oh, let's do Product Hunt 2. It's really worth doing it the right way. I think on day one we had over 800 or 900 signups on day one. So that was a great start for a brand new product that had no market presence, like it was completely stealth. So how do we get like our next users? So we've done a number of things. One thing we've done is we built in a way for INK users to share INK with other people and like get a point. And so a lot of our users like the product and then they share the product with other people. So if you have some like like we met on Lunch Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Lunch Club give Lunch Club points.
They do.
And how can you get more Lunch Club points? Well, attending meetings, but you can also get them by inviting other people to the platform. So that's kind of a mechanism that you want to consider if that can at any way work in your product. So that worked for us. And then the second thing is that we did is very early on, it was important for us to be listed in as many software directories or startup directories as possible. So we signed up one by one. We worked to sign up, then did the social media campaign around it to try and, if there were upvotes to be had or to show up in a top list somewhere, we worked on it one by one. We tackled the directories and made sure that people knew that we existed, that we cornered our categories and so forth. And I believe that built our initial layer of like SEO authority. Like a lot of directories were present, they linked to our site, and that's building like our initial trust layer with Google. Then we entered.
What are some examples of those software directories? Are you talking about like G2 or what?
Yeah, that's like one example. We were, I think we were a high performer or something as well in G2 this year. So which brings me to another one that we did is, but if you're looking for startup directories and so forth, honestly, like a Product Hunt has a bunch of like examples of directories that like best marketing tools curated list, or Google launched something called Keen, and we made sure we are in Keen. And then Product Hunt had another one, Your Stack, and we made sure we're in there. And then there's all of these regular directories that just list marketing tools for content, marketing tools for SEO, startups, Bootstrapped startups, software for Mac, software for Windows, software for Linux. You want to be like we have a WordPress plugin. We're in the WordPress store and so forth and so on. You want to be where users are exploring and trying to discover solutions. You want to be there. That's just like a given. Now it takes some time. I would say don't just go and register for like 200 directories. Pick the top 10 you need to be in and make sure you have a presence there, right? And slow but steady. So then this year we said it was a bit of testosterone, but I'm like, the software that we built is so great. why haven't we won any contests yet? And I discovered that you don't really win unless you apply. You need to enter. So we're like, okay, let's fix that. And with our team, we started putting our packages together and our marketing materials, and we started applying to different contests. We were US Search finalists for best software, and we were like content marketing awards, and like we've won a bunch of awards. And one of the reasons I wanted to have those awards is and recognition is because then I want to use it on my site and tell people, look at all these awards we've won. So it helps build the trust when people come to our site. And we have this is crazy, Anna. We have over 25% conversion rate on our Google traffic to our site.
That's amazing.
That's pretty crazy, right? So
yeah.
These social validation things, they help. They really help. So that's what we've done this year. Last year, we just didn't have the bandwidth to even begin. And I'm sure that next year we'll be able to enter in even more contests. And then this year we've got a bunch of finalist spots. But one of the things that judges are looking at is like your reach as well. And when you're a small bootstrapped company with a small budget, you may not be like having 10 million users. People like to follow success, right? And so I'm confident that next year, and as we get more well known, it's going to get easier to be participating in those contests. So then we've executed. This is a little bit proprietary, but basically, I built some, like with Ahrefs, you can see where your links are coming from, right? You can also see where your competitors' links are coming from. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure that if somebody had an article that would say like top writing tools and there's a comment section, we wanted to make sure that our customers, our writers, our audience, or ink writers, that they had an opportunity to like leave a message there and say, why haven't you included ink? Hey, author, why haven't you done that? Either by messaging the writer or leaving a blog comment. And so we had a quite elaborate campaign where, I would parse through those Ahrefs dumps of where competitors are talked about. And then with like a program I wrote, then I would like check that site and see if I could get the author's contact information and if there was a blog comment opportunity or not. And then we whittled that down. And there was not like a tool that would do that for me. So I kind of built that with our team internally. And so it's been successful. I think I told you we didn't spend a lot of money on backlinks, but this is one of the ways that we semi-organically got like authors to add us to their site, to their list of tools. And when they didn't, at least if people scroll to the comment section, they would learn that there's another tool out there called Ink. And
that's right.
And that was, it's hard to measure. So at one point I had 6 people doing that work. And then this summer we then reduced that to 2 people. Because our lists were a bit saturated and we didn't have such a list of opportunities. It's not like they get 1,000 links a day to competitors. So you kind of start with that. And then it's hard to measure because when you like talk about a blog comment, you can't always like post a link because then you get flagged, right, as spam. So sometimes all you can leave is a mention. And then that translates into a direct visit that you can't really track attribution. So it's hard to know if it's working or not, but I'd like to think it is because it's clever. So then what else we did? We also did a number of partnerships with people, partner companies who had a larger social reach than us. And actually, like when you're talking about your podcast, that's like one of the proven ways to grow your podcast faster is to get other podcasters with their following on there and get their social reach, which may be a little bit bigger than yours, to like discover the mighty Anna. right? And then they start including you. We also invested in data study. We actually did two, and we also invested in case studies. And they can be used for conversion, but they can also be used in marketing. And so we did a data study, large scale data study. That number I told you, like 400% more likely to rank in the top 10 of Google. That comes from a data study we did. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pieces of content, blind tests, see where they rank, see if INK can predict if they're going to be in the top 10. But INK scores them and tries to predict it. And so INK predicted so much better the articles that were actually in the top 10. You know that INK works. I have to, not that I want to poke the bear, but I have to just point out that a lot of people are making claims about their marketing tools that are not really backed up with data studies. So again, I know what we built is legit, and I know there's a lot of not legit marketing claims out there, and I wanted to make sure that we get the recognition for the work we've done. We also secured a patent because we're legit and wanted to make sure that we get that recognition. And then as far as case studies are concerned, like the example is we worked with Crowd Content, and then they posted about their collaboration with us also on their channel. So that's an example of how you can use collaborations and so forth to grow your reach. So
this is amazing. You guys are doing so much in the marketing realm, and you're still like, you're growing, but you're bootstrapped and you're raising funding, and yet you're doing so much, like really good, juicy stuff to gain the trust, not just to tell people, look at what we can do this for you, here's a case study. You're going beyond that. And so that's what I love. I love that you're thinking of ways to go beyond the typical and to really prove your worth, like patents and the data study, and like building something where to make it the process easier that you believe in, although you can't back it up with data necessarily, but you really believe in the process of leaving those blog comments. I just love that. This is great.
You want to be like Hansel and Gretel and just leave like a little trail of breadcrumbs so that people can find us all over the web.
That's really the point, right? That really is the point, is because the touch points of like, how do people find you are just all over the place, and they've gotten to be so much more all over the place. So that really is a great way to explain it, like leaving the breadcrumbs.
There's an important lesson here, and I just want to like tell people that, I'm fully convinced that one day INK is going to be like a very well-known big company, right? And I may be on future podcasts where, okay, this sounds like a big ego thing, but I don't want to compare myself to the mighty Steve Jobs, but it's so fun for me to watch his interviews and his podcasts, when he wasn't the mighty Steve Jobs yet. Like, what was he saying? And everybody assumes that, success is just overnight, or marketing, you may ask everybody, what are you doing that's working? And what you're learning is it's never just the one thing. Yes, there's these exceptions that just get overnight. Something happens that is almost like the Holy Spirit. You can't just see it, but it just happens, and you're like, what just happened? But it's rare. And the truth is, and like if later on people watch back and say like, hey, this interview with Alexander was interesting, it's a lot of hard work. There's no substitute for hard work. And you can't really know what it is going to be for your company that is going to make the difference. So the message is, try different things, measure, and try different things, and measure, and keep working hard. We're doing a lot of things, and the ethos at our company, what we're doing, all the time measuring the impact of what we're doing, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And so don't think it's just one magical thing. It's a lot of different things, and there's no substitute for all the hard work that goes into it. Yeah,
absolutely. That's wonderful. So we talked about what's working well, all of those different strategies you're using and channels you're using, and that was awesome. What's a big challenge that you're trying to figure out? Like what is something that's keeping you up at night right now?
All right, so your conversion rate cannot grow exponentially. It's 0 or it's 100 or a number in between, right? So if you want to exponentially grow your company, you can tweak and optimize your conversion rate, but that's not the only thing that's going to actually make you go have exponential growth. So what we're trying to solve is eyeballs as a function of dollars spent is linear growth. So you can't do it in function of dollars spent. You have to find what, I like this word, you have to find escape velocity. You have to escape the gravity of Earth so that you can go to the stars. And the way to do that is to find opportunities for exponential growth. So you have to, if it's in paid marketing, you have to find a magic number of 1 or greater, which means that you recuperate your marketing investment and then you can reinvest that. The speed at which you recuperate your investment denotes the speed at which you can reinvest your money, denotes the speed at which you can accelerate. For organic marketing, it's about turning on your growth engine. Like SEO traffic is linear. Your conversion rate is linear. But to get exponential growth, you have to also activate your users. You have to activate certain viral aspects in there, like radioactive half-life time. But for marketing, what is the time that what one of your users needs to become 2 users? Is that 20 years for your company? Or is it 1 month? Like Lunch Club raised a lot of money. Why? Because they reach escape velocity through viral sharing really quick. And investors see that, right? So what we're trying to figure out is how to achieve escape velocity. And we're all the time looking at the data on how we can make the product more of a group thing and more of a share thing, and how we can leverage user enthusiasm where they voluntarily want to be advocates for us in the marketplace so that we can reduce that half time. We can increase that velocity, because the traditional marketing, SEM, SEO, they're great to get the word out, but you still need something more if you really want to
if you're a startup, right, with crazy growth numbers.
Yeah. And it is a little bit like pushing up a rock up the mountain, and you don't really know where the tip is, but we have the firm belief that we keep on pushing and we don't give up. One day we're going to reach that tip of the mountain where that is just going to come down and take a bunch of snow with it. Now I can transform my analogy of a stone into a snowball. And it's going to snowball and become very big. But the thing is, you don't know where the tip of the mountain is. All you know is that you believe in your product. You got to keep making it better, rolling it up. And at some point, you have to believe you're going to reach that escape velocity. That's going to trigger something in the market can happen. The imposter game, like Among Us, was like a nothing game for a while, and then all of a sudden exploded. Like, what happened? What was their tip of the mountain? Like, it's different for everybody. But all you know, when you don't have the benefit of hindsight, all you know is that you have to keep going forward and keep leaving the breadcrumbs. And one day, hopefully, you built a product that is so beloved. The cult of Mac, right? You built your fan base out that really love it. So at INK, we're really all the time thinking about our users, user delight, and trying to build that fan club, trying to build that joy. And one day, anyway, that's what we're trying to figure out. Escape velocity.
It's not easy, right? It's not easy, but I think that you're right. There's something to be said about just staying consistent. you try something, you measure it, you keep going with it, or you do something else because you measured it and it's not bringing the results you're looking for. And I think that's the way to do it. And you're also trying different things, new things, right? You're looking at what other people are doing. Maybe you'll do it too. Other successful companies, you'll look at what they're doing, but it really is like a consistent methodology. The last thing I want to ask you is, like, what has been an aha moment for you these past 6 to 12 months? Like, maybe there's something that's been so overrated. You're like, why did I even do that? Why did my team even get into that? That's so overrated. Or maybe something underrated. Like, we actually thought that this wasn't a big deal, and then it was huge for us. Like, what's a big aha moment most recently for you?
Well, there's a lot of smaller ahas, but you're learning all the time. That's the truth for marketers, right? One of the things that we learned that was an aha moment is we we were really focused with our product on the individual writing experience, but then we just completed our largest survey of our users thus far, and we just learned that more than 50% of our content writers are creating content as teams, and it's become a really collaborative experience. So would say, like, if you're building a product or something and you have just like a user in mind, maybe survey a little bit earlier, maybe notice that the collaborative features will help you grow faster. So it's one thing we learned. We also, like, we know from theory that our ink software can help with SEO, but honestly, it is just mind-boggling to see your SEO traffic go from 40,000 visitors a month to 90,000 visitors a month in the month of September, and then go to over 100,000 in October. It's just how well it works is mind-boggling. And the reason is that Google is more and more relying on AI itself to figure out what content it likes. And so fight fire with fire. Do not write content without it. And we also learned from our agency side, it mind-boggling how valuable SEO is in the time of Corona crisis. You know, when marketing budgets are collapsing, we have seen some clients that had over 200, I think 280% increase in revenue from SEO during the months of Corona crisis, where they had to shutter thousands of stores. So it really showed, like, right now, it's really aha, because it's a collective world aha for SEO, because it's like, oh, you told us all this time to invest in our SEO, and the reactions of people are now like, I'm glad I did, or man, I should get started because my competitors like we're really happy they had SEO and I didn't, right? And then also uh, another one, it's relating to AI, but you may have heard a lot about GPT-3 and OpenAI and so forth. And I can't call out specific companies, but or individuals, but I've met several people like you on Lunch Club, but also elsewhere, that are actively starting to write content with such type of technologies. And something that very few people know or understand is that this is going to culminate in what I call a content denial of service attack on search engines. You know, a denial of service attack is when you flood a server with packets so that it can't process it. But now imagine machines churning out 20,000, 100,000 pieces of content, just spitting it out all the time. And search engines have to process that content, not really knowing upfront whether a human or an AI wrote it, and have to process so much content that it is very hard. The future is going to be very hard for search engines to cope with that. And new solutions are going to have to be found, discovered. New algorithms are going to have to come. SEO and marketing is going to change a lot in the future. And so we keep our eyes on these trends, and our goal is to make sure that the people that put their hard work in this content continue to have a fighting chance, continue to have a way to fight fire with fire. Anyway, lots of micro trends. Any of those could be an hour conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when I bring you back on next year, I know you're going to have loads more to talk about, but this has been such a great discussion. Alexander, thank you so much for coming on here. You can reach Alexander on LinkedIn, Alexander de Ritter. You can also get ink for yourself for free by visiting inkforall.com. Anything else that you wanted to mention about you, how to reach you, or anything that I didn't mention?
No, that's perfect. LinkedIn
Awesome.
is perfect. And I just want to thank you, Anna. You're doing great things. And
oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you have plus at least one, but more subscribers out of this one.
Awesome. So glad you were able to come on here, and thank you so much, Alexander. Great to have you, and looking forward to having you on here again. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.